Hey everyone, and welcome back to Abbey Research Reads. I'm Dr. Kristen Donnelly, and today I want to talk to you about the young adult novel called Girl Like That by Tanaz Bhathena, who is a Canadian author who was born in India but raised in Saudi Arabia and Canada, and is a very well celebrated young adult author. Her most recent book, which is a fantasy series, was named by the Canadian Broadcasting Company as essentially like Children's Book of the Year. So she's very skilled. She's 4 books out, and this is the first one I've read, but it will not be the last. I'm classifying this as a highly recommended empathy read for a host of reasons, including that it is one of the books that we've talked about before, which is classified as an own voices book. So the book is about a teenage girl in Saudi Arabia who is Indian and Zoroastrian and was raised in India, was born in India, but is living kind of in an Indian enclave, for lack of a better word, in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, which from the limited biography I've read of the author, that relationship, that experience is a lived one. So there's a host of reasons to read this book, but honestly, the main one is what I just said. Unless you are also somebody who was born in India and raised in Saudi Arabia, this is going to be a life that you know very little about, to be completely honest. Not only because Zoroastrianism is not a faith system that we, or a cultural system or a life system that we talk about a whole lot in the West, or among white people at all. It's definitely not one of the religious life systems that has translated to outside of India, really, predominantly, and some other non-American spaces in terms of cultural ubiquitousness, for lack of a better word. But also because Saudi Arabia is a fairly mysterious country to a lot of those of us who don't live there. The headlines are wild. The particular branch of Islam that the Saudi royal family essentially practices, and therefore the whole country practices, is called Wahhabism, which is a very specific strand of Islam that is incredibly gendered. All religion is gendered. Wahhabism is exceptionally gendered. As a religious scholar, I can tell you a whole lot of things about it. I can say that, it requires a very specific understanding of modesty. It requires, this is why women can't drive in Saudi Arabia in general. It's all Wahhabism. But in order to really understand the lived experience of someone's faith, understanding it from their mouth is the most important. So I pride myself on trying to understand and then help you guys understand as many religious systems as possible, because even if you just say I'm a Christian, there's at least, I don't know, somewhere around 14.3 billion interpretations of that phrase. So I try to bring as many shades of understanding to this channel as possible, especially in this particular series. But beyond that, Wahhabism is very specific and is not really anything like Sunni or Shiite, which is what you, if you are an American watching the news on the regular, those are the 2 words you've heard the most often. I don't want to unpack it a whole lot more because it's not my faith. And it's something that I've tried to spend some time understanding. But the best way I can help you understand it is to offer you an author who has spent a good portion of their life marinating and living in it. So all that to say, young adult novels, you've heard me say it before, and I'll say it again, are not just for young adults. Essentially what it means is that the primary characters are pretty much between 14 and 18 years old. There's a lot of coming of age stories, a lot of wrestling with identity, a lot of the things that a lot of us did when we were between 14 and 18. You'll see a lot of similar themes in a lot of books. They sometimes start to kind of blend together if you read a lot of them back to back. But because the feelings of learning who you are so universal, I think it's one of the reasons that a lot of adults resonate with young adult literature, because we look back and we're like, oh, wow. I also love young adult literature for empathy reads because it is the genre of publishing that has embraced own voices the quickest and the most accessibly, I think. So a lot of high literature, things that win Man Booker prizes or Pulitzers, sometimes feel very inaccessible to me. They feel impenetrable. I am not often looking to read fiction books as though they are homework. It's not my particular jam. I know a lot of book YouTube reads those kind of books, and amazing. Mazel tov, rock on. My goal on this channel, and our goal at Abbey Research in particular, is to find easily accessible empathy experiences. And for me, YA is one of those. All that to say, before I even get into the summary, I really hope you consider at least reading it, but here's the summary. So a teenage girl named Wadia is Indian Zoroastrian who's being raised in this kind of commune situation. And she has gotten a reputation of being a girl like that. We all know what that means, right? When we meet her, the very first chapter, it's actually her death. She's been in a car accident, and she's died with a boy in the car. And what you hear is the religious police, and which is a concept that certainly a lot of Americans have no concept of. The religious police are either on their way or have arrived, and Wadia's perspective is telling us that she's incredibly afraid of what happens when her family finds out that she was in the car with a boy. Through various points of view, including that boy and another girl and another boy and a whole lot of their kind of connected web of friends, the story, the bulk of the book tells you how we got to the car accident, and the life that Wadia led up to the car accident, which was full of lots of things that feel super familiar, including reputation and cyberbullying and which, like, once again, let me just say, if I've never said it before, let me say it again. I am incredibly grateful I went to high school without the internet, and everyone that goes to high school with the internet has my hugs and sympathy, because whoo, buddy. A lot of feelings about one's body, figuring out what attraction is, figuring out how fun kissing is, all these kind of things, but against a backdrop that felt to me completely foreign, including religious police and the incredible weight of reputation. I certainly grew up with an idea of honor and shame because of how my family spoke about it, but nothing to the weight that it is given in this particular book. We learn about drugs and about the kind of, even though this incredibly restrictive society might present itself as incredibly holy, we still get boys date rape, drugging girls, and all the kind of stuff that kind of happens with humans everywhere. And to be completely frank, a lot of the stuff that happens with fundamentalist movements everywhere. Humans, if they don't choose and don't buy into the fundamentalism, are always going to revolt against it. So it's why we have incredibly high rates of teenage pregnancy in historical places where fundamentalism, religious fundamentalism is big, because we don't get sex ed, et cetera, and things kind of chase out from there. So there's lots of threads to pick at in this. I mean, sit with this girl's story, please, but also lots of threads to chase. My guess is that it's going to teach you, just like as it taught me, a whole lot of things that had never occurred to me, but it was also an incredible reminder that it's 2021 in Saudi Arabia too. And teenagers have Tumblr and TikTok and ways to get around censors. And as long as there has been the internet, there has been free exchange of information, and people have found out how to do it, even when their governments say that they can't. So yeah, I know this has been a little bit rambly, possibly a little bit longer than some of my other book reviews, but when I closed Girl Like That, the very first thing I thought about was getting on this channel and telling you guys all to read it. So it's a 2018 publication. It came to me from a list that I found of diverse YA reads, I believe on Book Riot, but I couldn't find that list again. I apologize. I put this thing on hold immediately and tore through it from my local library. So we'll put the links in the show notes to be able to purchase it yourself, but please also always support your local libraries when you can. And I'll see you next time for the next Abbey Research Reads.